there. He just wasn't security. He was actually a son. So, and then, we ain't talking about that in the film when one of the wives gets runned over. Splendid.
Oh, yeah.
And she gets killed, and then they perform surgery and they pull out the dead child. And they have the umbilical cord, and he says, I had a baby brother.
Oh, yeah.
He was perfect in every way.
He starts shooting that giant gun. How sassy the doctor, they called him the organic mechanic. And how he was saucy though. He was giving to Morton Joe some comments. Mm-hmm. He's like He's like another month and you would have had a kid. Like he was being he's like your blondie here is just barely breathing. Do you think he got away with that because he's the doctor?
I think partly because he's a doctor and partly because Morton had a lot going on. Because the other character was a little what was the guy? The eater?
Yeah.
The guy that was So he actually told him, I'm going after them. The people eater. Morton said, wait. He says, no, I'm going to go after them. You sit here and wait. I'll go. So I think a couple of them I had permission to be a little sassy with Morton. So I noticed that too. There's some subtext. Yeah. There's some subtext to that. Yeah.
And I also read that the Bullet Farmer. Okay, there's a backstory for all these guys. Bullet Farmer and Morton Joe were the ones that took over the area and built it up, and then he got control of the Bullet area, which was a lead mine. That's the backstory to all of it. So yeah, he's sassy. He takes off. Oh, there's one thing we didn't talk about was the day for night scenes. So obviously you're not going to shoot at night in Namibia. There's no way. It's impossible. So they shot during the day. And they overexposed. Like they really they opened it up. They didn't just go one over. They really, like for the CGI, they didn't want to clip, but they overexposed during the day. And John Seal was like, "No, we're not doing that. That's stupid." And then they did it, and it looked cool. I mean, this is good looking day for night, I would say.
Oh yeah. And for people that have seen the film, this is the scene where they have the tanker and they're trying to get away from the Bullet Farmer. And this is when Furioso blinds him and they hook the cable up to the tree. But the whole scene is kind of has a bluish hue, right? Which takes them into night, into night, which is great. I think that plan that they had worked. It worked great for me for the film,
I just love that they thought outside the box and really overexposed the footage. And they turned it up. And I also thought it was really interesting. There's little nuggets in this. And you brought up George Lucas, who, like, if you think about Return of the Jedi, when the Rancor is killed, his trainer starts crying. And then his trainer is greeted by his friend, and his friend starts saying, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
In this scene, you have the vulture bird-looking people on stilts walking through this weird water sludge. You just have these really interesting buzzards, and then you have different types of people who exist in this world, but you only see glimpses of them. And I really sort of like that, too, about it. And another random thing is I love all the downtime, because think about all the downtime in this world. You can't really be riding all the time because you'll need gasoline. So a lot of it's just waiting around. And I liked
for something to happen or to find something and to find something you need. Yeah.
I like the downtime. I like the little characters, but no, I guess I'm going back to, I jump all over the place, but the day for night, I thought it was really, that'd be a nightmare. Imagine the temperature drop out there. Imagine the inclement weather. And it's just another case of, I've seen bad day for night. I really have, but this was not a case of that. And it's hyper stylized. I mean, the color grading in this movie, so it fits right in. You don't have normal cinematography and then day for night. You have a very hyper stylized yellow, bright, and then you have that. So it works. It works for this world.
Yeah, it works. And even in that scene, Furioso is basically, that was that. And I feel like that scene was the culmination of Furioso and Max, because Furioso blinds the Bullet Farmer, but they're still coming. So Max goes out there and kills all of them. He comes back, and then this is when Furioso and Max kind of have a heart-to-heart, and you understand that Furiosa wants him around. So, yeah, I think that was a good turning point with the visuals and the content as well for the film.
I like when Furiosa, she says, like, are you bloody? And she says, I think that's their blood. So he goes out and kills those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was neat. And I also like the moment where they're down to one bullet. And I'm not praising Tom Hardy for doing this, but I like it when actors are unselfish in roles. So he's down to one bullet, and he hands the gun to Furiosa. She rests it on his shoulder, and she takes the shot and gets the kill.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unselfish move with the actors. It adds depth to each of them, and there's no word, well, except for "Don't breathe." But in that moment, you learn a lot about them. He trusts her, and then she trusts him. It's a really neat moment.
And they're flawed characters. Both of them are flawed, you know? And so much so, the Max knew that he couldn't do what Furiosa can do. The same thing with driving a tanker. When he sits in a tanker and he's about to leave, and they say, look, they're coming. You're either going to let me drive. He said, no, we'll wait. We'll sit here and wait. You know what I'm saying? So the depth, the dimensions of these characters are great.
One thing that bothers me, though, is in the beginning, Charlize Theron, the Furiosa, she takes out the War Boys with her on basically a mission where they're all going to die. So these are guys who... I mean, also, one thing George Miller said, he wanted these guys to have glee. So when they die, they cherish it. It's a really interesting move. Witness Me. I mean, some of the most iconic slow-motion moves, Witness Me, and that guy gets shot in the face, and then he dives on that buzzard car and blows it up.
Right, the poles,
They're driving through a toxic sandstorm, and what a day, what a lovely day. Like, there's so much glee to these characters, which adds a really interesting angle to them. But she gets all of those war boys killed. And so these war boys are just products of being grown up from war pups to war boys. So, listen, she absolutely wants to get out there. She wants to save these wives. But I felt kind of bad for all the collateral damage of the war boys who died. But they want to die, right? So, I mean, maybe it's not bad.
That was their purpose. They're soldiers. That's what they were there. That's what they were born to do. So actually, them appearing in front of the gates of Valhalla, that's what they want, right? That was their purpose, a beautiful death. So basically, you know, she was giving them what they wanted, in a sense.
They get to shine their mouths, and that's like a drug that gets them super jacked, and then they just die.
So I think George Miller said he had got that from something that they did back in war times, actually something they did actually in war times. But they didn't spray. They used something else. It was some type of drug, some type of narcotic that they used, and that's where he kind of got the reference from. So, yeah.
They went full, so Scarface ripped them off.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And also, how cool would it have been, just as you and I, so when I was working on the film sets, I loved going on the vehicles that towed other vehicles. I loved going on the rigs that filmed. How sweet would it have been to have been on the Edge system that they put on these really badass SUVs? So they had this Edge cam on top of a crane on a very powerful vehicle, so it can accelerate quickly, and the crane can be operated from inside the car by an operator. It could go up and down and swing around 360 degrees. It's got an extension of about 20 feet, and the camera's on the end of a stabilized remote head that's operated by a camera operator inside the car. So you have the crane operator, camera operator, DP, and George Miller in a car, plus the driver. So the camera could go right up to the window and get a close-up of, say, Charlize Theron pull back and around and down to a full wide shot. How sweet would it have been to be in that cool car, man, with that camera?
That sounds like a piece of equipment you always want to have.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You want to keep. But they said that when this was done, they crushed all the cars. They destroyed all the cars.
Why?
And I would think maybe not all of them, but most of them, they said that they destroyed them. I mean, with productions, when the production, they have to dissolve everything. And most of them probably would not have worked as well anyway. Maybe they could have kept it for like a museum or something, you know, archive for the film. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still an intellectual property. It's still a business. So
I mean, I've worked at locations where they have one of the Batmobiles just sitting there on display. That'd be sweet to see one of these.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So you're in this world. You're one of these drivers. Which vehicle would you pick? Which vehicle would you want in this world?
Oh, Okay, I was reading up on some of the names, but if I had to pick one, let me look. I'm actually have to research that one.
So
you know what? It might be the vehicle. Might be the vehicle that what's his name? Dolph. What was that? Dolph Warrior.
The Doof Warrior.
Yeah, Doof Warrior. I think it might be that one. That one had speakers in the front and had speakers in the back. It had music playing. Maybe that one. Maybe.
Oh, and you don't have to get engaged in the action.
Right. I could see everything.
Hey.
I get a chance.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in any of the other vehicles, I'm probably gonna die. You know what? No. You know what? I like Nux's car.
Oh yeah, that thing's fast.
Yeah. Now that was a Beetle. It looked like a Volkswagen Beetle, right? But I don't think it was. But it looked like it was. It looked like it was a Volkswagen Beetle.
And I have another question. Movies have made me to believe that motorcycle henchmen always lose. So John Wick 3, The Villainess, all these movies. And in this movie, every single motorcycle henchman or anybody on a motorcycle gets wiped out.
Oh, they're disposable.
Yeah.
They're disposable. If you're on a motorcycle, you're going to get it. You're going to get it.
If someone said, Mark, get on that motorcycle, I'm dead. Well, I guess if you're a war boy, you might want to get on the motorcycle.
Yeah, you're gonna be in Valhalla soon. But even in the Road Warrior, the famous scene where one of the guys is on a motorcycle and it flips, and they said that he actually broke his leg when that happened. So he actually turned himself into relax mode when he started spinning upside down. George Miller talks about that, on how the guy actually relaxed himself to not further his injuries when he landed.
That's smart. That's wherewithal right there.
Yeah.
And also, the VFX coordinator said that a lot of times when you have stuntmen jumping out of vehicles, they're very graceful and they know how to land, and they just know it looks graceful. So she didn't want her war boys flying all over the place to look graceful. So she tried to pattern them realistically when they went flying in the air, not like a stuntman flying in the air. So when you watch this movie and you see war boys going flying, they don't look elegant. They look just like ragdolls shot from a vehicle that just wiped out at 70 miles an hour.
So when I watched the film, I tried to see where there were moments where they were stuntmen or that it was CGI. And I think, as it said, as 80 to 90% of the film was practical, it was real. I think I only seen one occurrence where a stunt guy looked kind of, computer generated. And I believe it was with one of the motorcycle guys, or when they went into a pit. I think one of them had one of the old school cars, like something from American Graffiti, and it goes down into a hole and the spikes are sticking out of the hole and it flips. So I don't know. Even Furioso's tanker was awesome.
Oh, that thing was so cool. That's the best vehicle. And I love when Richter shoots the spear through the steering wheel, and then they clip it, and then Furiosa attaches the wrench to it. But they have to
drive the wrench, right.
I dug it. Like, what a great scene. That's what's tough about this movie is it's so good that you could almost just say and then.
Right.
So I think we've dropped enough knowledge, which I'm very happy about, but I just love that. I don't know. There's just so much. Oh my gosh. I dig it. But
it's a lot. Great film.
And you know what I like is here's some interesting numbers for the movie. At the height of filming, there were 1,700 crew members with an average of 1,000 people on set at any one time, as 5 8x8 German military transport trucks hauled gear across 3 football-sized pitch distances 6 times over 138 days. It's crazy.
Ooh, so I would think, and I would understand why George Miller would take time in between films, because that that's a lot to deal with. I mean, just in human standards, that's a lot. You're talking about the pressures and being in the heat, the sand, and we're not even talking about just the pressures of production. Every time somebody steps in a vehicle, he's worrying if someone's going to get hurt. So every time he shoots, because there have been deaths on films all the time, car scenes, people get hurt, and if I believe, no one was hurt in this film, right?
I think he said there might have been maybe one broken leg or arm, and he was really sad about that.
Okay.
And that affected him big time.
It had to. I mean, I worry on set because safety is the most important thing on set. Anything can happen on set.